would like to welcome you in my new video. This video is going to be about what I call players on the chessboard. And also, if you're new here and you like topics from self-help and personal development, even psychology, you can subscribe to my channel. I will be really happy if you subscribe. And I will start to talk about my topic. And so, players on the chessboard, this is sort of a metaphor which I first heard when I was at this lecture. It was about international relations and history of international relations since 1848. And this was this lecture, and this woman was talking about historical events. And what was unique about this lecture, which was actually first time which I ever saw this in anybody, is that this woman, the professor who was giving the lecture, she was actually talking about historical events in such a way that she would describe to you some conflict, like doesn't matter which one, and she would describe it from so many different sides and points of views. She would describe it from points of views of different states which were included in the conflict. She would literally explain to you what was the standpoint of the state who was in the conflict. And then she would explain to you the standpoint from the other state which was in the conflict, as if she was like talking for one state and then for the other. And then there were some other actors in the conflict which kind of influenced the result of this conflict, maybe people who lived in that area, civilians and other people. And she would explain the conflict from all these different standpoints. And so when the lecture ended, what was really amazing, and I kind of just sat there and I just stared at her and I was just really amazed. What was amazing about it is when she ended her lecture, you had no idea what to think about this event. And this was actually first time I experienced this, that somebody would tell me something, a lecture or whatever, and I wouldn't know what to think. Because if you ever studied history in your school, you can maybe remember that anytime there was like any conflict depicted by your teacher, it would be really like you could maybe imagine if somebody would talk about whatever war you want to choose, you would always like think that there was a good side and a good guy, and then there was the bad guy, and you wouldn't see the complete picture of what was really going on. You wouldn't be able to look at it from above. As this teacher, as I explained to you, she was able to do it, and it was one of the most amazing experiences in school which I ever had. And she used this metaphor of players on the chessboard. It's like as if you would look at the chessboard, and if you maybe were like playing with your friends or with your family, maybe if you were one of the players who would move your figures and then you had your opponent on the other side who would move his figures, you would feel like it's a battle and you want to win, and sometimes you could even think like you deserve it more or whatever. And if you were like a friend who would see your other friends playing, maybe you would also take some standpoint, you would be like a fan of one of them or stuff like that. But actually, what did she meant, this teacher, when she used this metaphor of the players on the chessboard? She actually wanted to make us think about conflicts. These were conflicts in international relationships and international relations, but she wanted to make us think about it in a more complex way and see the individual players on the chessboard, and to see that any one of these players, they move so that they would benefit themselves and gain power for themselves and for their people in their nation. If you have a national states and they would move on this so-called chessboard in one direction, that's because they have their own, you could say, selfish agenda, because this state wants to protect their interests. And then you would have other state in there, and this state would want to also protect their own interest, and so they would move against each other because they would both think that they're protecting their own interest. And then you would have other players, and if you were like looking at some conflict from the standpoint of your own nation, you would see the other person as your enemy, and you would think that they are evil, and you wouldn't understand what is this state or this person is doing, and you would see each other as these evil people. But if you look at the chessboard from above and you try to really comprehend the strategy and the standpoints and the struggles between these two states, from position of one of them, then the position from the other one, and then from the above, and you would kind of try to get as complex picture as you can. Maybe you would get to the state where you wouldn't know anymore what to think about the situation, because you would see that everybody is protecting their own interests. And basically, what I love about this metaphor is that you can apply it not only to international relations and to conflicts and wars and history, you can apply it to basically anything. You can apply it in politics when you see a political debate. You can also look at opinions from different standpoints. You can apply it to nutrition, environmentalism. You can apply it even to your own life, to your own relationships in your life. You can apply it even to yourself. How you can practically apply it to environmentalism and politics, I'm not going to talk about it, because I think you can guess that for yourself. You're just going to learn different standpoints. I actually have video about how to form an opinion, and I talk about confirmation bias and all these things in this video. I will link it for you down below if you're interested, so I'm not going to really talk about that. But I'm going to more focus on relationships and yourself. In relationships, it can happen that you will look at some problem in a relationship from your own personal standpoint, and you're not going to be able to see the other person's point of view. And so this can really help you to look at it from also the other person's point of view, and maybe think about like why my partner is thinking the things that he's thinking, how did he came to such conclusions, what are the ramifications of that, how is this going to impact the relationship we have, and other things. Also, you can think about it in connection to yourself and your own beliefs. Because what can actually happen to you, and I would bet that this is what's happening to anybody who has some strong opinions, is that basically when you have the process of forming your opinions, maybe in this phase when you form your opinions, you think about sort of all the possibilities, you're not really sure what to think, you really want to investigate it really thoroughly to make your opinion. And so in this part, I wouldn't say that you are completely honest, because even before you start doing your research, you maybe already have some pre-existing like assumption about what you want to think, and maybe that's the way how you're going to conduct your research, so that you will only find supporting evidence. I don't want to, as I said, I don't really want to get into this topic here, because I already have a video about this. But maybe at the beginning you at least feel like you are doing an honest research. But the more you get stuck in some opinion, the more you're gonna keep being stuck in this opinion. And when you finally form it and you really set yourself in that, and you start to like speak about your opinion out loud with other people, and you become known for your opinion, it's going to be harder and harder for you to even get the idea that you could, and it would be good for you to change your mind maybe about some things. Maybe you become a bit more extremist about some of your opinions, and maybe you will even feel stuck. Maybe sometimes you will even feel like the contradictory arguments are really powerful, and you maybe even think like you're starting to agree with them. But since you were defending your opinion for such a long time, you're gonna feel like you can just drop it and like take the other opinion. But this is possible. I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I'm not really a fan of this, because usually what happens when somebody drops their opinion, what happens is that they are so relieved that they dropped this opinion that was burdening them, that they're gonna go straight to the opposite opinion, and they're gonna go for this opinion. I talked about this in connection with nutrition very much, where people tend to go like from one extreme nutritional habit to other extreme nutritional habits, and they're going to be really heavy on like promoting either one of these, not knowing that the best thing maybe for them would be to stay sort of undecided and not restrict as much what they're eating. This can be also applied to, as I said, relationships, politics, and so on. And so what is my point on this? And my suggestion for you actually in this video is that something that I've been experimenting with for the past couple months, and I feel like this is really the best thing that I could do, is that I actually try to stay undecided in as many areas as I can possibly. And even in the areas in which I used to be really decided about what is good and what is bad, I try to kind of look on the other side and kind of balance out my opinions and kind of stay undecided even in those areas. What is good about being undecided? Good thing about this is that your mind is going to stay open. Your mind is going to stay open to all the suggestions that are going to come your way. No matter what opinion you're going to hear, you're not going to feel threatened by any opinion you will ever hear about anything. This is so huge. Just think about it for a little bit. This is such an amazing thing. Imagine that you are so undecided and so neutral that no opinion that you ever hear is going to threaten you. Quite the contrary, actually. You're going to look for these opinions and you're going to take a huge pleasure in just hearing these opinions and trying to find their contradictions and thinking about this from different perspectives and different sides. And it's going to make you feel really amazing. It's going to make you like this explorer of the external world and also internal world if you apply work on yourself in your personal development. And it's going to really free you of these ideas which you had in your head and you were pursuing them and pushing for them, and they were kind of burdening you and creating this separation for you from the other opinions. And you maybe even wished that the reality would be so simple that you could stay in your opinion and not to think about the other opinions. And so the first benefit of this is that you're gonna feel more free. You're not gonna become burdened. You're not gonna be burdened by any opinions that would weigh you down. And also you're gonna become an explorer of the reality. Also, what is great about this is that it's gonna greatly expand your horizons. It's like as if when you are stuck on some opinion, maybe you experience this yourself. When you are stuck on some opinion, maybe you are sometimes even afraid to enter some kind of debate. Because when you enter a debate, being stuck on one opinion, what's going to happen to you is that maybe the other side, the other person that you're debating with, they're going to present to you some argument which you maybe are closing your eyes in front of this evidence or something like that, and maybe you even prepared a counter-argument, but maybe it's like you are afraid to even look into it more because you are afraid that maybe if you opened your eyes to this contradictory evidence, you would have to drop your opinion and you don't want to look like a fool. Because a lot of the times I think that there is this tendency in people to really form their opinions and really pick a side because they fear that if they don't pick a side, they're just going to look stupid. I was actually thinking about this very much because I had some resistance in myself to stay undecided. I had this tendency and urge to pick a side, and I couldn't figure out what is the problem, why I have this tendency. It's no big deal if I don't have an opinion about something. And I personally think that this is really this fear of looking stupid, because you can see that there are people who are maybe not interested in learning about economics or politics or biology, whatever, and they don't have particular opinions in this area of life. And some other people can look at these people who don't have opinions and they're gonna tell about them and they say stuff like, oh, they are so ignorant, they are so stupid, they're not interested in anything. A lot of the times this can be you have some young people who are interested only in shopping and partying and all these things, and some older people are maybe gonna talk about them in a really belittling way. They're gonna say, oh, they're not interested in anything, they don't do anything valuable, they don't have any opinions, they're just stupid, they don't do any research and stuff like that. And this can be one example where you have people who have no knowledge about some area of life and therefore they don't have an opinion about it. Then you have people who did some gathering of some knowledge and then they made their opinion based on this knowledge. But then you can have another stage of development. In my opinion, this is even better than having a strong opinion about something. And that is when you gathered all the knowledge which you thought was important and you still keep doing it. It's not this person in the middle, in the second stage, who kind of gathered their knowledge and then they think they're done, and now what's left is for them only to defend their opinion. But if you are in the higher stage, you're gonna know that you're gonna keep exploring and finding out about new knowledge all the time, and you're still gonna remain undecided. You're not gonna be threatened by any opinion you will ever hear about anything. And you're gonna keep expanding your knowledge without any fear that you're gonna be wrong, because there's nothing for you to be wrong about. And it's I know that it's gonna sound really theoretical when I'm gonna be talking about this like this in here, but actually the way how I personally came up to this conclusion that it's the best thing to stay undecided is by the fact that when I actually started to investigate anything, the more I was trying to find out about some topic, the more I realized that it's not possible to make an opinion. The more I realized that there is like evidence coming at me from both sides, and I was like looking at one side and I was like, oh, now I think that this is true, and then I looked the other side and I was like, no, this is also true. How can this be true at the same time? And there would be conflicting evidence, and there would be many like information from both of the sides, even from the like. There would be so many information that would contradict itself and all these things, and I would be like, well, if I really want to be true to myself, then I have to stay neutral. I have to stay undecided. It's not possible for me to pick a side, because I would have to close my eyes in front of the other evidence. And so this is how I personally came to this. I personally came to this through I gathered so much knowledge that I realized that it's not possible to form an opinion. This is actually what happens to you if you study a lot, if you study something really very much. And I don't want to look like I'm like this studious person or anything like that, like I have so much knowledge about everything, because I don't. In reality, I know about it myself, that I don't. Maybe I will even make videos about this. I'm not going to dive into it here. It's just that sometimes something becomes really interesting for me, usually from psychology and from this field, and I start to investigate about this, and then I come to this conclusion that I can make an opinion. But I actually applied this as something which I do in life, is that I stay undecided. And usually what happens when you stay undecided is that people are going to confuse you with the first stage. Actually, they're going to think that you have no knowledge about anything, and that's why you have no opinion, when in fact you might be in a state where you have so much knowledge that you have no opinion. You know what I mean? It's really easy to get these stages confused, to get confused the stage 3 with the stage 1, because it seems like it's the same thing, but in reality it's not. And I hope that by me explaining this in this way here, you understand what I mean. If not, please ask me in the discussion. I will be really happy if you ask me. And I will answer you if, of course, I will answer you if I will know what to answer to. If I have no idea what to answer to, I won't probably. I will write to you like, I don't know, answer to your question. But if there's something unclear for you in the way how I explain this, I will be really happy if you ask me in the comments. Also, why is it good to think about it like this? If you're not still convinced by the things that I told you here right now, one really amazing thing which I would really want to outline here is that if you really gonna be like this, if you're really gonna tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna stay undecided, I'm gonna become explorer, every fact that's gonna come my way from whichever side is gonna be interesting for me, then it's gonna be really difficult for people, for other people, to manipulate you in any way. It's not only it's going to be difficult for people to manipulate you, it's going to be impossible. Because no matter what a manipulator or person who's going to try to convince you about something, no matter what they're going to tell you, it's just going to be another piece of interesting fact for you. It's not going to be like this person will come to you and they will manipulate you in anything. It's not going to be possible, because since you are undecided, you're not even going to take their argument as something that should convince you. You're going to take their argument as amusement piece of evidence, which you can explore on it even more, and you can find even more facts and even become even more richer in your knowledge. And so if this person is going to come to you and try to convince you, you're just gonna focus on the content, what they're gonna tell you, and you're not as much gonna focus on the fact that they would convince you about something. But this can be actually a slippery slope, because dealing with other people, especially in discussions, even if you're gonna make this decision for yourself that you're gonna try to stay undecided, what can be really deceiving is that the moment you're gonna engage in a discussion with anybody and this person is gonna try to push some ideas on you, and maybe you're not gonna be as experienced in this concept which I explained to you right now, it can be really easy for these people to kind of drag you into debate, and maybe you're gonna feel like you don't wanna give in to their opinion, and so you're gonna try to make an opposition to them, and the second you're trying to make an opposition, you're gonna be dragged into it, you're gonna feel like you are forming your opinion against this other person, and suddenly it's not a debate about like knowledge and the facts, it's not gonna be an exploration for you, it's just gonna be a fight. Basically, you're gonna deny the other person's opinions because you're gonna be afraid that they're gonna like convince you and stuff like that. You're maybe gonna like fight with them, or even if you're not gonna fight with them and you're just gonna support them, then they can actually convince you. It's like, I would even tell you, if you're not experienced with this, with staying undecided, I would tell you, try to retain yourself from debates, and rather than engaging in debates, try to observe the debates and see what is going on here. Because usually in debates there is this like power dynamics and this kind of I don't know what exact word I should say about this. I will probably make videos about this topic in the future as well. But there's like this dynamics where it's like it has a feeling of a fight, and there are always like this tendency to produce two sides to some argument so that it will become interesting or whatever. And it's very rare that you would see two people just working together to finding the truth. Usually they're gonna fight with each other and they're gonna try to not to lose their face or whatever. But like, I can tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a debate where two people would actually debate with each other in such a way that they would try to find a truth, like both of them working together. I don't think I've ever saw a debate like this. I have to be honest. If you ever saw a debate like this, please link it for me in the comment, because I would like to see that. But I can tell you, I never saw that. And so this maybe would take some time for you to develop. It's not really easy, and it's just something that goes sort of against the grains of how you were used to think about things and all these things. And so that's the message of my video. Also, in general, I think it's really obvious by now, but this will help you in your personal development to sort of move a little bit from your close-mindedness to having more open mind. And that's really important in the long term. It can really make your life so much better. And I would really advise you try to at least think about what I told you right now, and try to think about all the mental cages you may be creating for yourself and trying to make you stick with some opinion that maybe don't resonate with you as much. And that's everything for my today's video. If you have any questions or comments for me, as I already said a couple times, write me in the comments. If you like this video, you can give it a like. That's gonna be really helpful for me to see that I have some kind of feedback, because it would be really helpful for me if I had some feedback. And also, if you like this video, you can also subscribe to my channel. And that's everything for me, and I will see you next time with my next video. So have a nice now, and bye.